All right, there, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. It is Tuesday, and that it means it is time for real boxing.
The Boxing Source proudly presents Real Boxing with legendary fight trainer Ronnie Shields.
Hey, everybody. Yeah,
Woo-hoo!
we are here. We, had a little bit of a delay, and because of that, we had to, have Coach Ronnie. He has multiple things that he has to do, so he'll be sitting it out. So we're just gonna have, of course, myself and my great co-host here, Mr. Joseph here, and War Week Boxing. What's going on?
Woo! I tell you what, just like on Saturday night, as soon as Coach's fight was finished with his young heavyweight badass, he decided to take a cab to the airport and fly out and miss the main event. So he did the same thing tonight. Woo! I tell you what, now Coach is in good spirits, but he's spreading himself thin lately. So we gave him a pass, and we're going to hold down the fort here because we have a lot of show for everyone, don't we, brother?
Yeah, we got a number of things here we could tackle here on this one, and with that being said, we had like a few things here that we have planned here for the coach, but you know what? I'm gonna have Joe on this one here, so I'm going to start it off with this
Either
right
get busy
here.
living or get busy dying, or get busy playing rapid fire Q&A with Coach Ronnie Shields.
All right,
Woo!
yeah. So now I get your
Okay,
picks
I
for a
just have
number of
one
these
thing to say to you,
combatants. Uh huh.
good James.
Uh huh.
Same Watanabe.
Woo! Love
All
the
right.
Morgan Freeman, brother.
Yep. All right. So here we go. We're gonna start it off with this one. Better small forward, Larry Bird or Elgin Baylor?
You mean the Whitey? I'm gonna pick Elgin Baylor, brother.
Ooh, ooh.
You know
Somebody
what's
get.
funny? You I know everyone's always tempted to say Larry Bird, but I'm sorry. I'd still hold Elgin Baylor as the greatest small forward of all time. And I don't think I'm wrong in saying that.
He might be one of the more underrated players in the NBA of all time.
I
You say
agree.
that.
I agree wholeheartedly, but not on this show, brother.
All right. Next one. Better pure scorer, Kevin Durant or George Gervin?
Oh gosh, dude. As much as I'd love to say George Gervin, well, no, I'm gonna say the Iceman, George Gervin. Although I love former Longhorn Kevin Durant.
Yeah,
You know what? I'm gonna say push because they're both badasses, man. I love both players.
yeah. All right. And this one here, this one would have been a biased answer from Coach Ronnie, but I'm gonna get one from you. Better,
Yeah.
greater running back, Barry Sanders or Emmett Smith?
My heart says Emmett Smith, but come on. Look, and I'm saying Emmett Smith had the greater heart. Look how long he stayed in. He's the Roy Jones of running backs. Barry Sanders, um, he could have been the greatest of all time, but he ducked out uh, like a bitch. There it is. I said it.
Maybe some
No
could say
heart.
that.
No heart. I can promise you this. If he had Troy Aikman handing the ball off to him and Daryl Johnston blocking for him, yeah, he would have stayed in a lot longer. That shows you what heart he didn't have. And for that, I'm saying Emmitt Smith, and he's got the rings to prove it. And I don't think I'm wrong in saying that.
Maybe you could say the same thing about Barry Sanders as you could say for Calvin Johnson, but that's a whole nother story. All right, next one.
What?
No, I'm just kidding. Better all-around quarterback, Joe Montana or Patrick Mahomes?
Come on, dude. That's not even a question. Joe Montana, a.k.a. Barry Manilow. Yes, I said it. Patrick Mahomes, dude, okay, I'll just say this. Have you ever seen Joe Montana get blown out in a Super Bowl? Never. But I guess you can't say the same thing for Patrick Mahomes.
Pretty much twice, actually.
That's what I'm saying. So Joe Montana by a yard.
Probably about 10 yards.
Dude, 3 football fields. How about that?
Yeah.
Joe Montana is an all-time great. Before Tom Brady, he was the best to have ever done it.
Yep.
And I hate the 49ers. That took a lot for me to say.
All right, this one's a good one. Tougher outfielder, Ken Griffey Jr. or Andrew Jones?
Come on now. Look. I still have an upper deck Ken Griffey Jr. that's worth a lot of money, rookie. And I'm sorry, Jr. had the sweetest swing of all time. And boy, he could cover so much ground in his prime. I'll say Ken Griffey Jr. by a mile. But I love me some Andrew Jones, and I know that hurts your heart for me to say.
Yep. I might have the Topps rookie card for Ken Griffey Jr., but it might be in a little bit of a different condition than maybe what you got.
Upper deck, baby.
All right, here we go. Greater clutch shooter, Ray Allen or Reggie Miller?
Oh boy, look, just because of the Spike Lee feud, I have to say Reggie Miller. That really made me laugh. I loved that. I loved the Reggie Miller. And he always came through in the big games, Reggie Miller. So I'll say Reggie Miller, but I love me some Ray Allen, dude.
Yeah. But yeah, Ray Allen was a great scorer, but when it came to fourth quarter, final few minutes, gotta go with Reggie Miller. All right, here we go with this next one. Superior point guard, Magic Johnson or Stephen Curry?
Stop it. I know everyone growing up in this generation will say Steph Curry, but man, he ain't got nothing on Showtime. Magic Johnson. Dude, Magic Johnson was the man in his prime. And dude, it was in a much more competitive league back then. Yes, I said it. Magic Johnson by a country mile.
To win a high school state championship, NCAA national championship, and an NBA championship in 4 years.
Winner. That's
crazy. Now I might be
Magic
biased.
Johnson is a legend. Steph Curry, I don't even know what ethnicity he is. Yes, I said it.
Oh, man. All right. This one's another interesting one. Well, I would say this. Greater tennis legend, Roger Federer or Pete Sampras?
I'm going to go with Roger Federer. The Swiss badass, man. Although I love me some Pete Sampras, who had a heart for days, but Roger Federer was a surgeon on the court. Dude, did you know, Big James, because I stopped growing after 8th grade, I was resorted to playing high school tennis and baseball. So I played tennis on varsity. I have a leather jacket to prove it. But yes, Roger Federer, the Swiss badass. Boy, he's an all-time great, man. As much as I love Pete Sampras from New York, sorry, man. Roger Federer takes it.
Yeah, he had the titles. And I took I was a fan of Pete Sampras myself, but yeah, Federer's a great legend on that one. All right, here we go. More dominant center, Shaq or Hakeem?
Look, my heart has to say Hakeem. Hakeem the Dream, because Shaq was a big fat bully. Big fat bully. Like, honestly, it's like, dude, every time you try to post him up, he would just move his big fat ass and move you out of the way. It was unfair. Hakeem. But no. If you're talking about more dominant, Shaq is probably the most dominant player ever since Wilt Chamberlain. You have to go with Shaq, as much as I hate to say it.
Yeah, I would have to as well on that one. All right, here we go. Next one. Best closer, Mariano Rivera or Trevor Hoffman?
Oh my gosh! Obviously, New York, LA. Look, and then San Diego. Look. As much as I love me some Trevor Hoffman, Mariano Rivera at one point in time. Look, I'm going to say neither one. I'm going to say Dennis Eckersley. Yeah, I said it.
Ooh.
There it is, the man with the porn
Oakland
mustache.
A's. Yep. That was.
Denny
Hey,
Eck,
I was
baby.
a fan of his. I was a fan of his there back in the mid to late '80s. Yep.
I tell you what, he's a lot better than the Reds closer at that time, which was John Franco. You remember him?
Yeah, I remember him.
Oh, look. I will say this. The 90 Reds had the best closing tandem I think I've seen in the past 40, 50 years. And that was Randy Myers, Norm Charlton, and the amazing Rob Dibble, the Nasty Boys. We shut down the A's in 1990 and swept their ass. Untouchable. For that year, the Nasty Boys were the greatest closing tandem maybe in the history of the game. And yes, I said it. They're my Reds.
Yeah, gotta have a Philly choice Reds like I do for the Braves there on that.
Oh, dude, Braves suck ass. I don't want you.
Oh, come on, man.
Oh, dude, you had John Ryder. Or John Rocker. That says it all, dude. John Rocker, that racist son of a gun.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Next up on the docket. More iconic soccer legend, Pele or Lionel Messi? This is
Next.
an easy one. Exactly.
Next.
All right. Greater WNBA pioneer, Lisa Leslie or Diana Taurasi?
Next.
Yeah, WNBA.
Dude, that's the Jake Paul of questions right there, man.
Yeah, there we go, man. I mean that's our that's our quick round of Q&A there. So we definitely went through that real fast there. So want to see if we could get next to what we have on the docket. So this is a special show. We don't necessarily have a fact or fiction on this one. So we're going to get right into it as we have some specialists. So let's do it.
Maybe, just maybe, it's time for Coach Ronnie's Top 10. Bing!
Yeah. Thank you, Teddy.
All right. So with that being said, we're going to go with first the top 10 biggest upsets of the past 40 years. Here we go. All right. Number 10, we got Glenn Johnson's knockout of Roy Jones Jr. in 2004. This month after Jones was stopped by Antonio Tarver, he tried to rebound against a tough but unheralded Johnson. Instead, he was knocked out cold.
Honestly, guys, I was shocked, and it hurt my heart to watch. And as much as I love me some Glenn Koff Johnson, that was brutal. Not only was he getting outworked, and he was trying to make light of that, but he gets caught with that hook on the inside, and his head bounced off the canvas probably around 10 times before he laid still.
That was like a basketball.
That was terrible. Like, do you remember that old segment on David Letterman, the classic David Letterman of the 80s, dropping things off the 10-story tower?
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. You remember that time they dropped the bowling ball off the 10-story tower?
Oh, goodness.
That's what it looked like. It was hideous. It was like, to me, because I loved Superman back then, it was like staring at the sun, physically painful.
Yeah.
But with that said, I was happy for Roy Jones, or for Glenn Koff Johnson. Hey, I'm not the best. I'm just willing to fight the best.
Yeah, he ended up being like what, the fighter of the year, having the wins over Jones and Antonio Tarver for that year. And yeah, nobody really expected that, for either of those fights. He was still able to do it, you know. So that was good on his part. All right, here we go with number 9. Iron Barkley stops
Oh,
Thomas
this was a
Hitman
shocker.
Hearns in 1988. Hearns heavily favored, but Barkley's grit and power shocked fans as he landed a brutal right hand that changed the fight in an instant.
You know,
Yeah.
especially James, after seeing what Tommy Hearns did to the great Roberto Duran at 54. This was a real shocker. And then especially when Roberto Duran beat that ass several years later.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That was shocking. Ching Gao, dude. Yeah, that was hard to watch. And then you look at the surgery that James Toney performed on Iran Barkley. Wow. Iran the Blade. That was a shocker, man, when he knocked out Tommy Hearns.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Yep. And I have what is it, like one of those, how they have the calendars for like the fighters and everything like that.
Uh-huh.
Like I got one of those for the 2025 calendar from Aaron Barkley with him signing it. So I had that memento of him. This was from the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame last year. So
Oh,
I
dude.
got one of those. Yeah.
Boo. Yeah. Dude, I love me some Tommy Hearns. That one hurt, man. That one hurt, and that was a shocker.
Yeah.
I thought for sure Tommy was gonna lay the wood to that dude.
Yeah. All right, so here we go with number 8. Corey Sanders with the TKO over Vladimir Klitschko in 2003. Klitschko is being groomed as the heir to the heavyweight throne, and he had Sanders as a part-time golfer and a late substitute, scoring a stunning upset. Ooh, man, I remember watching
this
that.
was such an upset that the WBO didn't even want to sanction this as a title fight. And Corey Sanders with those whips for arms and that just ridiculous hand speed for a heavyweight, how fluid he was. And out of the southpaw position, Vladimir had never seen anything like it, not as a decorated amateur, not as a pro leading up to that point. And keep in mind, he had just whooped that ass of Ray Mercer. He had knocked out Charles Shuford. He knocked out Jamil, the real deal McCline.
McCline, yep.
Or big time McCline. That's it. Honestly, dude, honestly, that was shocking. That was shocking, man. Like honestly, yeah, the WBO didn't even want to sanction this as a title fight. And he whooped his ass. Whooped his ass. That was amazing.
Yeah, he like slacked him in the first round. I couldn't believe it when I saw it there.
The hand speed, and then from that southpaw position, if you're not, and once again, that should be a lesson to all of you guys. If you're taking on short notice a southpaw with some pop and you've been training and sparring for a right-handed fighter, don't take the fight. Postpone it.
Yep. I as well delay it. But hey, Klitschko didn't take that advice and ended up costing a big time there on that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here we go with number 7. Michael Spinks defeats Larry Holmes in 1985.
But did he really?
No. Spinks had never fought at heavyweight. Holmes was a champion, just one win away from tying Rocky Marciano's 49-0 record, and Spinks spoiled the party.
To this day, if you speak to the Eastern Assassin, and I have several times on this, he genuinely believes, and I don't think he's wrong, that they just didn't want him to break Rocky Marciano's 49-0 record. They didn't want him to tie it. They didn't want him to break it. They wanted to protect the Rock's record. And I agree with him. I thought he easily won that. Well, not easily, but I thought he won that fight. I know he definitely won the second.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, having that first one there, it was like, yeah, they had all of that tied to it with Larry Holmes, and like I said, he's probably one of the most underrated fighters in the sport, like ever, because
Hmm.
it's like you could say that he's a top five heavyweight, and then it still feels like you're underselling him.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
let's make no mistake about this though. Michael Spinks, he's an all-time great at 175. You could put him in against Bivol and Beterbiev, and you know what? I would favor Michael Spinks in both. Yeah, I said it.
yeah. Dominic here says, yeah, the Eastern Assassin, Holmes, best jab ever. Yeah,
You know
yep.
what? Between him, Muhammad Ali, as far as heavyweights, and Lennox Lewis, um, maybe, maybe. Who do you think has the best jab out of all those? Lennox Lewis,
Holmes,
Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes,
Holmes.
maybe, maybe. It's a
Yeah, I got
that's a tough,
Holmes.
and I think it's a three-way tie in my opinion.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I got Holmes with those three.
But the
You know,
speed, man, of the Muhammad Ali jab, and dude,
yes,
what about Sonny Liston's sledgehammer piston jab?
goodness,
Come on now, don't
man.
forget about that.
Yeah, yeah, that
Look,
was a
and I
brutal
know this
jab.
is very unpopular, James, but I'm going to say it. You cannot discount the Klitschko jab either, and I'm talking about
Oh
Vlad.
yeah, Vlad. Yeah, yeah,
Oof,
yeah.
that is a steel hammer, and when he started under the tutelage of the great Emmanuel Stewart, God rest his soul, he used an intelligent jab. You know, that brilliant hook off the jab was beautiful. Like those are um like honestly, those are all really great dominant jabs where you could picture all of those guys in this era of heavyweights winning with the left hand alone.
Hmm. Man, yeah, that's the thing there with at least with the Klitschko thing that you mentioned. Like, yeah, I feel like Vlad's jab was underrated, but he used it to dominate his era, though. He used it to dominate his era, and you really didn't have much of an answer for it until Tyson Fury. But I think that was just more of a how they say styles make fights. Yeah, that's what I was thinking there with
Like, think about this. And I know people like to discount the Corey Sanders victory, but who had ever done that before or after to Vladimir Klitschko?
yep, nobody.
Not David Hay, not anybody. No one.
Nope,
No one. Not Anthony Joshua. No one.
nope, nope.
Not Tyson Fury. No one. No one had ever beaten that ass like Corey Sanders. So, hey,
Yep.
say what you want, but he didn't lose a second of that fight. His speed, his fluid footwork, all of it, even though he looked like a pro golfer,
Hmm.
pudgy in the midsection, that hand speed was brilliant with those heavy ass hands. And I tell you what, for the first 3 rounds of his fight with Vitali, he was in a real fight.
Yep, yep. Definitely was. Definitely was. All right, let's see what we got here for number 6. Frankie Randall
Uh-oh.
split decision win over Julio
Yeah.
Cesar Chavez in 1994. Chavez is 89 0-1 going into the bout. Yeah. Randall, an overlooked contender, outboxed a Mexican legend and handed him his first official loss. Yeah.
I have a funny story about that. I was bartending and I was a bar manager when I was going to college at a club in San Antonio called Planeta Mexico at the time. And everyone were wearing those stupid red headbands. And they showed the fight live. And I just laughed my ass off, man, when he lost. And I'm sorry, puro Mexicano, but I couldn't help but laugh. I laughed my ass off. seeing all those dejected idiots with those red headbands crying in their fucking Dos Equis,
Mm-hmm.
crying in their Coronas. I loved it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
laughed my ass off.
I mean, of course, you had the thing there with Whitaker and Chavez, and
That's
we
why
all know.
that's why I was
Yeah,
laughing my ass off.
yeah. Because Whitaker definitely won that fight, and they just made it to be a draw. You know what I mean? But here, yeah, just seeing Chavez getting outboxed like that.
You mean like Zurdo versus Dorticos?
Oh God. Oh, do we have to
Yeah.
bring that fight up? Nah, we shouldn't bring
Talk
that fight
about a
up.
gift.
Oh my goodness. All right, let's go to number
No, no,
five.
I've
All
got
right,
one.
all
Who
right.
wins between Jake Paul and Zurdo Ramirez?
Oh,
Come on, you can say it.
I
Everyone
might,
knows.
I might say it's a draw. It's nobody wins.
Oh boy, I tell you
Oh,
what, dude. Honestly, at this point, I'd love to see it, and I think it's a lot more competitive than everyone thinks.
yeah, I think it will be too.
Dude, Zurdo looked
That's
like
it.
dog mess.
Yep.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, he sure did.
Did he look like he has a chance against Jayo
Giant
Pataya?
Battalion? Nope. Mm-mm.
Dude,
He would get
Jayo
stopped.
Pataya would whoop that ass and make it look easy. Yeah, I said it.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Jake Paul wins by decapitation. Oh,
Dude,
come
all I have
on,
to say
man.
is,
Come on.
Dominic, get off his nuts, dude. Get off his nuts,
Oh
mamon.
man.
Dude, mamon.
Goodness, man.
Get off
Goodness.
his nuts.
Oh man. All right. Now let's go to number five. Andy Ruiz TKO victory over Anthony
Oh
Joshua
boy.
in June of 2019 at Madison Square Garden. Yeah, he entered in as a late replacement, but inside MSG, he floored the British champion 4 times and captured the unified titles. Man, I remember going to this bout Saturday. I went out to it was like something at Pier 40 in New York City. And before was going into the event at Pier 40, I saw Anthony Joshua walking down the pier. And he was, still at the time with him being undefeated, still doing his thing or whatever it is. So you know how he has those Instagram posts and all of that type of stuff or whatever. So he kind of like approached the fight like, hey, okay, I can get through this and whatever.
No,
And
brother. We
and
all knew. We all knew because my brother Adam Lopez even told me before that fight that Joey DeVeco knocked him out in sparring.
yeah, that was a story. That was a story.
No, that was the truth. And Joey DeVeco, to his credit, never revealed the truth. But Adam Lopez, yeah, he was working out with those guys. He told me that Andy Ruiz is going to knock his ass out before the fight, and it happened.
Mm. Yeah, it was wild. It was absolutely wild. An absolutely wild scene. And seeing Andy Ruiz jumping up and down in the middle of the ring and going out to the post fight press conference. He's like, oh my, I can't believe it. I'm very thankful.
Yeah, that's a pretty good impression. In my opinion, if Andy Ruiz doesn't want too much money, that's the fight that Anthony Joshua should take, the rubber match. If he survives the first 3 or 4 rounds, he wins that. Because Andy Ruiz,
Yeah.
being the fat slob that he is, he's turned into a 3 or 4 round fighter like Corey Sanders. But for those 3 or 4 rounds, watch out.
Yeah, I think, but Joshua went tried to go for the Uso after scoring that knockdown with that uppercut, and that's what ended up costing him. It was a similar situation to like how we finished the fight with Alexander Povetkin, because he was, struggling a little bit with Povetkin until he scored that knockdown. And then when he got that knockdown, he went, all out to try to, finish him. And so here he did the same thing. And it ended up costing him for the rest of that fight. So there you go. All right. Ready for number 4?
Let's hear it.
All right. Here we go with number 4. Antonio Tarver's knockout.
Oh, boy. You had to bring this one up.
Jones had never been knocked out and was still viewed by many as nearly untouchable. But in the rematch, Tarver landed a perfect left hand in the second round. And a hard left hand. Jones goes down on a hard left hand.
And I didn't even pay for this because I didn't really take it seriously. I was watching the NBA playoffs with my pops. And Charles Barkley came on at halftime and said, Roy Jones just got knocked out, and I couldn't believe it. Ran up to my laptop, got my laptop, pulled it up, and it was real. I couldn't believe it. Superman had gotten knocked out, and it was brutal. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that was, tell you what, that's what happens. When you bulk up, juice yourself up to the nines with PEDs, with Reynoso's 57 steak sauce, and then you melt back down to light heavyweight, you're just not the same.
Yeah. Big salute to my guy Alan Toussaint here, talking about the Andy Ruiz joint. He says, Ruiz really, actually, totally, properly is taking you serious this
time. Okay, got it. Hey, Alberto, my brother in Christ, how art thou, my friend? Stay close to Jesus. This is the season of abundant blessing, my friend. God bless you, my brother.
And Dominic says, Jones was never the same after moving back down from the heavyweight division. Yep. Definitely. That was definitely true. Like, if he stayed there at heavyweight and had probably about a couple more fights, and I don't know, maybe the Tyson fight or Holyfield fight, and got those wins and called it a career.
Yep. You should have had a rematch with James Toney at heavyweight instead.
Yeah, he could have had that too.
Jeez, because Corey Sanders was the WBC champion at the time, or the WBO champion at the time. He didn't want any of that big cracker. So he decided it was a better idea to melt back down to light heavyweight rather than taking on Corey Sanders or,
Lennox Lewis or Mike Tyson.
Lennox Lewis, yeah. So bad move there, Roy.
Yeah, man. All right. So check. You ready for number 3? All right, let's go. Number 3. Manny Pacquiao's TKO win over Marco Antonio Pereira in 2003. But Pereira was an elite champion. Pacquiao, while talented, wasn't expected to dominate, but from the opening bell, he overwhelmed Pereira.
I was there. That was on my birthday in the Alamo Dome, 2003, and I knew it. Golden Boy had just signed him to a multi-fight contract. It was their first major signee. And Manny Pacquiao made him regret it. I knew it was going to happen, too. I could feel it in my bones. He whooped that ass.
Definitely took advantage of that, that chance there in that spotlight. And, like you were saying, that pretty much, started Manny Pacquiao's run to be, multi-division world champion and be one of the top fighters and fighter of the decade and a 2025 International Boxing Hall of Fame inductee there. So,
yep.
And about the fight, and once again on July 19th.
Boy, happy birthday, Joseph! That was amazing.
All right, so if we can keep going here with number 2. Hasim Rahman's knockout.
Oh boy!
Lennox loses in 2001. Lewis.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Going into that fight, the promoter was so sure that Corey Sanders was going to beat Hasim Rahman to determine who's going to fight Lennox Lewis that he already slated, right, to host that Lennox Lewis fight in South Africa, thinking that it was going to be a homecoming, a coronation of sorts to Corey Sanders. And Rahman against Corey Sanders was an absolute war in which Rahman knocked him out, earning that spot. And he went to South Africa to start training his entire camp in the high altitude of South Africa. Lennox Lewis instead was shooting a movie, and it was the first
Yep.
Ocean's 11 with George Clooney and
Mm-hmm.
Brad Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't take the fight seriously, and it showed.
Yeah, I'm still like surprised on how he just had his guard down and took that right hand from I seen Rockman, man. That was crazy.
God bless you
Absolutely
guys.
crazy. Me and yeah, Lewis just looked like he was shell shocked when he was on the canvas after taking that right hand, man. But yeah, that was a notable one, but also the one where he got knocked out by Oliver McCall. That one like stood out to me as well because of you know him having that type of momentum that he had at that time, even though like he was being tied into having potential big fights against Evander Holyfield or Riddick Bowe, but having that first fight against Oliver McCall, yeah, I don't think he expected to get knocked down in that one either. So, but yeah, this one,
Yeah, but
Robin
look,
Lewis.
look, Oliver McCall being trained by Emmanuel Stewart. Lennox Lewis was young and stupid. This was after. This is a much bigger upset because he had been with um Emmanuel
Yeah,
Stewart
Stewart.
now for
Yep.
several years, and he
Hmm.
became a lot smarter and a lot more dominant. Like when he was young, Emmanuel Stewart told me that, yeah, he knew just by watching tape and watching him through his amateur career, was so confident, too confident, that he was a little too liberal with his right hand, didn't set it up with the jab, with an intelligent jab yet, and he was a sucker for that left hook right hand combination on the inside. That's all they worked on, and it worked. This this was just freakish. No one saw this coming. No one saw this coming.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, with Lewis being under the tutelage of Emmanuel Stewart for at least a few years from that point. Lewis was becoming that guy that was dominant in the heavyweight division, and then you had this fight against Rothman, and like I said, with him slipping up and taking that right hand, I just did not expect it to have that happen to him, man. But yeah, we've had a good number of upsets here on this particular list, but we have one that's left, and that's number one, and that's the obvious one there with Buster Douglas knocking out Mike Tyson in 1990.
Yep.
42-1 underdog. On that night in Tokyo, everything aligned for Douglas, and boxing witnessed one of the craziest upsets in history. And
Once
the thing
again, he
about it
had a camp.
was,
He had a camp worse than Lennox Lewis in Ocean's 11. And this is what happens, ladies and
yep,
gentlemen. This is what happens when you do not take your opponent in the heavyweight division as seriously as you should. Because this is the heavyweights. They don't play. There's boxing, and then there's heavyweight boxing. You're fighting a guy who's over 240 pounds who can punch. I don't care who you are. You're going to get beat if you don't take him seriously.
yep. And Tyson definitely didn't take him seriously. And those first few rounds, he got punched up, and people watching that, like seeing someone who was viewed as invincible, getting beat like that. And then you had the joint with him, with Tyson being able to, score the knockdown on Buster Douglas, and you know, some people thinking that okay, maybe Tyson, got his bearings back, and now he's gonna, finish the Buster off. But nope. Mm-mm.
Tell you what, his idea of a camp was sleeping with every woman in Tokyo.
Yep, that's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was. And oh man, it's just
Let's
that
be
just
honest, Buster
seems.
Douglas, his mother just passed away. And so he was very inspired. Yep, that's why he was downright fearless. And then you have Mr. Concubine there. Yeah, that's what happens. It's a heavyweight division, guys. You have to take everyone seriously. And some years later, Buster Douglas, after getting knocked out by Evander Holyfield, gets knocked out by Lou Savarese. Wow. Big Lou Savarese.
Yep, yep. So man, there was something that like resonated throughout, not just boxing, but like the world because of Mike Tyson at the time being one of the more iconic figures in sports. So yeah, that kind of did the thing there. Of course, you had the whole, pop culture thing with the Mike Tyson punch out and all that type of stuff, but also with it being in the boxing realm, if he would have got through this, you would have seen him still undefeated going up against Evander Holyfield, which at the time would have been the biggest fight in the heavyweight division. But him getting knocked out like that, yeah, that really pissed off
Let's
Evander
just be
Holyfield.
honest, though. That first fight between Tyson and Holyfield was massive anyway, man. That was one of the,
Yeah,
like, honestly, to this day, one of the best heavyweight fights I've ever seen for that kind of, for those stakes. Yeah, it was
mm-hmm,
beautiful, man.
mm-hmm, yep, yeah, a lot on the line, and that I think, yeah, like people still stop for that fight, that first fight for sure,
Oh,
for
yeah, it was
sure.
awesome, man. Amazing.
Yep.
I
So
remember seeing
they,
it at Hooters.
yep, yep. Shout out to 2 Cents in the building. Shout out to 2 Cents in here. You know what I mean. But yeah, that is like our number one upset of the past 40 years.
Woo!
Um,
Tell you what, let's get
where
your
would you?
thoughts, Big James, on the headline. Title of this show:
Hmm.
Benavidez versus Callum Smith in October, baby. Woo!
All right. Yeah, that would be a
That's
good.
it for PBC.
That would be a good matchup. I think for while it lasts. Callum
Oh,
Smith being in the, he's, was well established there as super middleweight, world champion there as super middleweight. Of course, got, his body broken down and his arms broken down by Canelo Alvarez. But here up at light heavyweight, kind of was looking pretty good until he ran into that bust on Artur Beterbiev.
you know what?
Um,
And let's just be honest. So far, it's fight of the year. This year, Callum Smith versus Joshua Buatsi. That was a war.
that
In
was a
my
war.
opinion, there's a question: did
Oh,
Callum Smith leave his soul in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia? Does
hmm.
he still have anything left after that war? And then getting beat down by Beterbiev, getting his arm torn to the bone by Canelo Alvarez. Does he still have anything left? I gotta see it to believe it. In my opinion, he's a little too shop worn, man. I mean, he's dangerous. If he still has anything left, that wicked quick sneaky left hook of his, that's gonna be problems for David Benavidez, who likes to let his hands go.
Yep.
If he still has anything left in the tank, this is gonna be a great fight. But I don't know if he does. Now go back and look at that fight with Buatsi, guys. That was a war, man.
Yeah, it was.
He may
And
have left it all in that fight.
it took him really something to pull that fight out there against Joshua Buatsi. I thought it was a very good fight. I have biases towards that Ishak Cruz Angel Fierro bout is probably the fight
Oh
of the
boy,
year so far. Uh, but yeah, that
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 was a great
still was
fight.
a very good fight there between Buatsi and Callum Smith, and
Hey,
all you
wait a
would see
minute,
is
James. Is the
yeah.
Gervonta Davis fight still happening?
I haven't
I hear
seen
that
any
it's off
announcement
again.
yet. I haven't seen an announcement yet. Listen, if it ain't gonna be on August 16th, man,
You and I
I
both
said it
know it's not going
before.
to happen. But look, let's talking about a fight that I have to see it to believe it, guys. According to Bob Arum, Brian Norman Jr. is going to be taking on Devin Haney, defending his WBO title. In my opinion, I have to see it to believe it. Because think about this. Devin Haney is going to be asking for an arm and a leg. And after his last performance, do you think Turkey Al-Sheikh is going to want to pay for that? And that if Devin Haney gets an arm and a leg, how much do you think the champion, Brian Norman Jr., is going to expect? I don't think that fight happens either.
Well, unless if it's a situation like who would it be? Like Deontay Wilder versus Bernard Stavern in the first fight, where Wilder got paid more than Stavern. Oh man, I don't know. Let's see here. Dominic says, "Oh boy,
dude, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, man?
No idea.
Dude, he had been with Memo Heredia.
Yeah,
he had been with Memo Heredia, man, all through it. Dude, how do you think he continued to make 68 as long as he did?
Yep. All right, he says Bob Arum said Norman versus the track star Haney. Yeah, that was on.
Yep,
Twitter.
That's what I'm saying. He's going to want an arm and a leg to fight Brian Norman Jr., especially after that last knockout performance. They're still trying to wake the Japanese guy up.
Yeah, he says his money's on Haiti pulling out of that fight.
Man, that fight doesn't even get signed. If I'm Turkey Al-Sheikh, I am not paying close to $20 million for those idiots. No, thank you. Haney can go get bent. You already did at P. Diddy's house.
Oop, oop. Oh, man.
Yeah, I said
it. All right. We got anything else here before we go to the next list that we got?
Yeah, we need to talk about Floyd Schofield.
Hold on, what was that? Kind of cut out there.
We need to talk about Floyd Schofield.
Oh, okay. I did not expect Tevin Farmer to.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? Ronnie, before the show, when we were waiting, he said, yeah, I kind of knew that was going to happen. I had heard Tevin Farmer looked really bad and looked really old in camp. And, dude, look. If you are fighting a guy who can punch and has the youth and hand speed advantage, why are you going to go right after him? Flicking out that jab, leaving yourself wide open for the straight right hand. Like, dude, in that southpaw position. And, dude, it's like against a puncher, you never come out. It's always a feeling out round. You never want to let your hands go until your eyes get adjusted to the timing, speed, movement of your opponent. Like Tevin Farmer had a brain fart, and he paid for it.
Yep, definitely paid for it.
Schofield fight next, Big James?
What, Schofield's next fight? Well, I mean, I've been trying to get in contact with Senior to see if they'll try to go forward and ask the WBA to be the mandatory challenger for that WBA title. But we'll see. Because WBA just put out their rankings, and now they got Floyd Schofield Jr. at number 1. So, yeah. So, I'd like to see how that works out. I mean,
in my opinion, he fights Williams Zepeda after he gets his ass whooped by Shakur Stevenson.
Wouldn't be surprised at that. That's an in-house fight, So he got that, deal, 5-fight deal. So that could be, another part of that. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up happening there. So we got that. All right. Now let's do this thing here once again.
Maybe, just maybe, it's time for Coach Ronnie's Top 10. Bing!
Yeah. Thank you, Teddy.
Oh man. All right, here we go. Top 10 most overrated fighters of the past 35 years. All right, here we
Uh-oh.
go.
Uh-oh.
Number 10, Jorge Luis Gonzalez. Cuban
I
amateur
remember him.
standout with wins over Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis in the
It was
amateurs.
that goofy haircut, dude.
Yeah, with the absolutely goofy haircut. Turned pro with swagger, but lacked the conditioning and defense to survive at the elite level. And I remember him getting absolutely trounced by Riddick Bowe for that WBO heavyweight title. Oh
Poor
my
Louis
goodness.
DeCubas. Boy, he was furious. He thought he had a star, man. Paid enough money to represent him.
It is true, but yeah, Bo was like, you are not going to defeat me in the pros. I am going to absolutely destroy you. And that is exactly what he did, with Eddie Futch there in his corner. I was like, man,
With that said, I like the young Cubans, man, now in the heavyweight division. Pero, the
Peril, yeah,
brothers,
Peril brothers.
those
Hmm.
are bad dudes, man.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, 'cause they really got a good thing going there. Being, working out in Vegas and things like that too. Both of them undefeated, so definitely on the lookout to see what's next there for those Sparrow brothers there at heavyweight. All right, let's see if we can get to number 9. Oh, this is gonna hurt me. Jeff
Uh-oh.
Left Hook Lacey. After being compared to a young Mike Tyson, Lacey was absolutely embarrassed by Joe Kawasaki in a one-sided beating that seemed to take the fight out of him permanently.
It ruined him.
Now,
Ruined him.
I remember going to Jeff Lacey's fight against Robin Reed in what now the Amalie Arena there in Tampa.
Oh, boy.
It was there in Tampa at the time, and he had so much momentum going into this fight here against Joe Calzaghe, and I was rooting for him, being from the same area, but yeah, he got absolutely embarrassed from round one. I
I
was
told
like,
everyone that Calzaghe was going to do a paint job on him.
oh man, I was just that. You talk about me that to this day that I felt like that was the most wrong I had ever been in a fight was
Yeah, until
picking
Dubois,
Lacey.
Joshua.
It's just one Joshua. Yep. You gotta bring that up.
Yeah, guess what? I got both of those right, homie.
Oh man, that is absolutely good. Yeah, that was something there. All right, here we
Oh,
go with
wait a
number.
minute.
Yo,
We haven't talked about Deontay versus Terrell Herndon yet.
yeah, we haven't. We haven't.
And guess
Uh,
what? We're not going to.
yeah, there's no point. All right, here we go. Number 8, Francisco Panchito Pajado, a Mexican American star with charisma and early TV exposure. He was expected to become a household name. Losses in big moments halted his momentum. Mm, mm. Yeah.
Yeah, he got beaten, upset by our dear friend Jesse James Leha. Loved it. Loved every second of it.
Yep. And
Poor
yeah,
Panchito.
yep. After that, yeah, he never was the same after that loss to that
Nope. He got
man.
embarrassed by the old man with
Mm-hmm.
busted up ribs.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Oh goodness. Yeah, that was just something. Definitely something there. But hey, I mean, he had a good hype there from that early part there, like you said, with the exposure. But yeah, after the layoff fight, yeah, we didn't see much of him at all there. All right, here we go with number 7, Seth Mitchell.
Uh-oh.
Oof,
Uh-oh.
a former college football star turned
Yep.
heavyweight prospect. Mitchell had an exciting rise with knockout power, but Jonathan Banks and Chris Ariola exposed him. Yeah.
Oh man, I was working with Jonathan at the time, and I told everyone that Jonathan was gonna upset him. That was awesome. And he just whooped his ass. Jonathan, man, was a very underrated cruiserweight, very underrated heavyweight. And the only reason why he lost the rematch to Seth Mitchell, because he broke both hands during that fight, and he couldn't throw any punches. He had already hurt his hands in camp. And I remember saying, look, dude, let me put out a press release or something for you, because this is the end. Yeah, because you didn't throw any punches after round 3. It's like you just moved around, didn't throw any punches. If you don't tell anyone you broke both hands, it's going to be bad. And he decided to just retire after that.
Oh man, just moving around, just trying to have
That
his
was
hands
terrible.
up,
I
trying
remember
to.
Sugar Hill, man, saying, hey, what are you doing? And he didn't say anything.
Man, how you gonna keep it away from the trainers? Like, come on. That was yeah crazy. But yeah, Seth Mitchell had all that promise here, and of course, with it being like an American heavyweight, and potentially being that guy that could be the American heavyweight champion. But yeah, Seth Mitchell just couldn't get past that
Look,
pronunciation
another
tendency.
football player turned heavyweight. Unlike Berman Stivern, Seth Mitchell just couldn't fight. He couldn't
Yep.
fight. He had power, had athleticism, but you have to know how to fight.
Mhm. Mhm.
Berman, boy, he was a slick, crafty, hard counterpuncher.
Yep.
And unfortunately, when he won that title against Chris Arreola, man, he started partying like it was 1999.
Yeah, they had the two fights because it was the second fight that he had the definitive win to win that WBC belt, and he was like, man, yep,
To this
like
day, the only guy more boring than Terrence Crawford to interview, Berman Stivern.
oh, I can see that.
I
I can,
interviewed Seth Mitchell several times on my old podcast before it was called a podcast. And he was always a great guy. Really, really good dude.
but
I felt really bad for Seth. He was a really, really good guy.
yeah, man, yep, definitely a good guy, but yeah, just
Couldn't
didn't
fight.
have it, couldn't fight. All right, here
Yep.
we go with number 6.
Uh-oh.
Ricardo
Oh.
Williams Jr., an Olympic silver medalist with sky high expectations. His
This
pro
was a
career,
dud with a capital D, James.
oh man, career was riddled with inconsistency and legal troubles. And what, a stint in prison too?
Yep. Sorry, Ricardo. Man, what a disappointment, man. That was a dud.
Oh man, it's Dominic says Callum will
This is a
also be on the
depressing
list.
list,
Oh my
brother.
god. Yeah, it is. It is,
Let's move
man.
on to number 5.
All right, here we go. Number 5. David Price, the towering
Uh-oh,
British
London Bridge
heavyweight.
is falling down.
Yeah, it's falling all the way down.
Dude, I was working with Tony the Tiger Thompson at the time, and I knew it. I knew he was going to whoop his ass. I'm like, they're picking on the wrong dude. Tony the Tiger whooped that ass in England. I thought it was awesome.
Beat him
Man,
up.
what a big stiff David Price was.
Yeah, he was. He was.
Dude, big stiff. Great white hype, man.
Hmm.
I knew Tony the Tiger was going to whoop that ass, man. I knew it.
Yeah, that one.
Man, Tony the Tiger was a road warrior, man. He was the Glenn Kopp Johnson of heavyweights.
Hmm. Yep. Sure was. Sure
Loved it.
was.
Loved it.
Yeah, man. But I mean, I thought that like David Price, yeah, he would have been like one of those guys that would have stood out there in the heavyweight division coming from the UK. But like you said, it was more of like a he was more of like a stiff, to say the least. And once you got to his chin, that was it. You know. So that was the thing about it. My goodness. All right, let's see here. Let's go. to number 4. Victor Ortiz, a
Uh-oh.
charismatic fighter with power and a compelling backstory. Ortiz was on the brink of superstardom after his win over Andre Berto. Classic fight with Andre
Oh,
Berto.
man, that was a great fight.
Oh,
But look, let's be honest. Marcos Maidana ruined his ass.
mm-hmm,
And then my boy
mm-hmm.
from Brooklyn just finished him off. Super Bowl week. You remember?
Yep, yep. Oh, but man, you still got that. I still remember the fight that Victor Ortiz had with Floyd Mayweather. It was like
Oh, geez.
September of that year, and he had the whole thing there. He was getting frustrated, tied
What a
up
head
Floyd
case.
Mayweather, and then give him an intentional headbutt, like how what was it? Um, Isaac Cruz did to Giovanni Cabrera.
dude, and I knew Luis Collazo was going to whoop Victor Ortiz's ass in New York in front of a huge audience in New York on Fox Sports. Man, Luis Collazo just finished off Victor Ortiz.
Yeah, he did.
Vicious Vivian Ortiz, baby. Woo!
Oh man.
And then they were trying to set up the big fight with Canelo and gets his ass whooped by Riverside Rocky, gets his jaw broken.
Yep.
I was doing commentary for a fight with I think it was Camacho Jr. that same weekend.
Mm. Yeah, man. That was something. And the
So
thing with
Victor
the
Ortiz is just one of those guys who came up short in every big fight
NBA fight.
except the Andre Burr
Yep.
fight of the year.
Oh yeah. Remember Stewart calling that fight?
Which one?
The Victor Ortiz Andre Berto fight.
Oh
With
yeah,
those
dude.
multiple knockdowns.
Yep, that was round number 7, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm.
Man,
Yeah,
that
that
was
was
beautiful,
crazy.
man. Beautiful. And yes, boxing academic. Luis Collazo was very underrated, in my opinion. He should have had a victory over Ricky Hatton in Boston.
Yep. Yeah, I thought that was the case too. You know what I mean? Oh man, this is uh, Ortiz was vicious against Berto there. Classic fights. Yep, definitely was. All right. He says the second time he says the prospect.
There it is. There it is. My boy Luis Collazo.
Yep. All right. Here we go with number 3. We're gonna go with this one. Oh, Adrian Broner,
Yep.
multi-division champion with lots of potential, but you talk about Marcos Maidana ruining fighter,
Ruined him too.
ruined Adrian Broner too. But I think with Broner, him going up from 135 to 147, that was his downfall right there. He should have
Yep.
just stuck with it, just to go 130, 135, and then
Let's be
140.
honest. Let's be honest. He moved to 147 out of necessity.
Yep.
How many times was he able to make 140 after that?
Oh man.
Mikey Garcia, maybe. That was it.
That was it.
That was it.
As far as I know.
Mikey Garcia fight. That was it. He was fat, and he had to make 47 out of necessity, dummy.
Yep.
So yeah, he screwed himself. This is what happens. This is what happens, guys, when you balloon up and party between fights. You flush your career down the toilet. Just ask Mijo Jr.
And the other thing too with Broner, like I had seen him in one of those events that was like outside of like a fight that he had, and like he talk about going overboard. Yeah, he went overboard, and it was like something where it was like real close to him, like getting. I don't know if it would have been like arrested. Either it would have been arrested, or like there would have been a real big skirmish, and this would have been in the middle of one of those major resorts out there in on the strip in Las Vegas. But Yeah, someone that had, looked like he had good talent, but just didn't really hone all of it in there to, make it complete. And just was a young guy that got a lot of money very very early and didn't know what to do with it. So there you go. All right, let's go to number two.
Uh-oh. Oh,
Michael
boy.
Grant, heavyweight
Dude,
with
I can't
potential.
believe there were a
Oh,
lot of
classic.
people picking him to beat Lennox Lewis.
Oh
What a
man.
big stiff. What a
Oh
big stiff.
goodness.
He's basically the American David Price.
Yep, you could say
Yeah,
that.
I said it.
You could say that, and that is exactly what happened there against Lennox Lewis. Oh man.
Uh-oh, and who's number one? If
All
Michael
right.
Grant is number two, who is number one?
All right, here we go. We are going
Woo!
to have this here, our number one most
Drum roll,
overrated.
please.
Well, here we go. Ollie Harrison, the UK version of Michael.
Frodley Harrison. I love it.
Yep.
Woo! Oh,
Oh,
man, what a disappointment. Gold medal winner in the Olympics. Supposed to be the heir for Lennox Lewis. He was terrible. He was basically the heavyweight Amir Khan. Khan is the operative word there, brother.
yep. Definitely. Keyword there is con. That is right. And I
Dude,
was
he
like,
fought like Terrell Herndon, afraid of his own shadow.
yeah, because he was more fighting himself than his opponent. I was like, goodness
Yep,
gracious.
there it is.
Oh man, so there you have it. That is our top 10 most overrated fighters of the past 35
Oh,
years.
Chingao.
So, man, oof. So much promise with the number of those fighters, but he just couldn't. They couldn't hold up to the big moments there in many occasions. So yeah, there you go, man. So that was it for our top 10, and we covered all of this here within what I'd say about an hour and 10 minutes or whatnot. So
Look,
that
last
was
thing I'm going to ask you, right? And I don't
mhm,
want to spend too much time on this. I've got soup simmering, right? And
gotcha.
I'm hungry. But I will say this. If anyone thinks that Deontay Wilder is back, oh boy, they need to stop watching boxing. Because
Oh,
Deontay Wilder looked like feces against a guy who's afraid of his own shadow and doesn't even know how to throw a jab.
yeah, he definitely didn't know how to throw a jab, and he didn't throw anything for like the first 3 rounds.
It's terrible. He just fought behind a high guard,
Yep.
and he moved all the way away. He never stood in the pocket and looked to counter with anything.
Nope.
And why? Because he doesn't know how. Doesn't have a good team around him. Look like shit. And look, if you cannot dispatch a scaredy cat like Terrell Herndon, then you need to hang it up. Honestly, I don't know who wins if he fights Jake Paul next.
Ooh. Like after he had that knockdown in the second round, I would have thought that he would have tried to, finish it off from there. But nope, he didn't do that. And, he was, throwing a jab, but anytime that he threw that right hand, it was like back to, as they say, the old Wilder is
Wait. Pull
all
up
right, hold
Boxing
up.
Academics
Yeah, here we go.
last.
He said,
Okay.
not in the
And
beginning,
I'm sorry. Who is it against? Who is his last two? You're talking about Joseph Parker and the Big Bang Zhale Zhang.
mm-hmm.
He's fighting Terrell Herndon, a club level fighter. Really?
And then before that, what
So
it
is
was,
that saying anything at all, Boxing Academic? Did he look better than he did in his last 3 fights? Is that saying anything at all? Look, guys, let's just be honest. That third fight with Tyson Fury took everything out of him. He's shocked. He's got no legs underneath him. Dude, you could drive a truck between his looping right hand this time. Like, it looks terrible. It looks terrible. Once again, guys, understand. There's a reason why he chose Terrell Herndon. Because Terrell Herndon, one, doesn't know how to throw a jab, doesn't know how to fight, and is afraid of his own shadow. And he still looked like shit against him. A guy who's afraid of his own shadow. And how long did Terrell Herndon, was it 7th round?
7th round.
And dude, and the Rev had to step in and stop it.
Yep, that's right. After 2 knockdowns, too.
So, in my opinion, hang it up, D. Hang it up, brother. Just, dude, call it a career.
Well, he hasn't said that he's calling it a career yet. You know, so hey, you see about a couple more fights and then you'll wrap it up or whatever it is. But
and Dominic, no, not after meeting with his stupid ass team. They're idiots.
Yep. So there you go, man. So yeah, that's what I had in reference to what went down in that fight, and so we got more coming up here. We'll probably in the following week we'll work on getting Coach Ronnie on before he has, of course.
Okay, big question, James. What's the size of the ring going to be on July 12th?
Probably 18. No.
You think?
No, I don't think so. I think it'll be 20 by 20.
You think? I was thinking more 15 by 15.
Oh, no.
Why not?
I mean, that's if Turkey announces it here within this week.
Let's be honest, guys. Who actually expects Edgar Berlanga to win this fight?
Fat Joe.
Who else?
Berlanga's relatives, I guess. I don't know. So,
dude, honestly, I can't wait to see that main event. And also, who thinks William Zepeda is going to beat Shakur Stevenson? He going to get his ass whooped. I tell you what, the fight I'm really looking forward to, not only the Ronnie's fighter, right, the Cuban, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Subriel Matias versus Alberto Puello.
Oh yeah,
that's a great fight. Like honestly, I cannot wait to see this card. And my boy Thomas Triber is going to be doing the ring announcing. Woo! At the Louis Armstrong Arena in Queens. And from what I've been told, it's like, you know how the StubHub Center is in Carson?
Mm-hmm.
It's a former tennis facility. It's a tennis facility in Queens. So there's not going to be a bad seat in the house. It's going to be an outstanding show, guys. Nothing like that Times Square debacle, guys. These are going to be real fights, real fighters standing in the pocket and whooping that ass. I cannot wait to see it. I'm looking forward to all 4 fights. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it should be a good card overall.
Like Burrell Jr., man, I'm expecting him to really put on a show, man. But he's got to. I hope he's taking this fight camp a lot more seriously than he did against David Benavidez.
Yep. Yeah, Lee, we had that conversation with Coach Ronnie, and he said that, at least from the other day that, David was doing a lot of, work there in one session, and then, doing the whole thing with what is it, like the exercise and the fitness and everything afterwards. So like
Hmm.
he'll definitely be ready and good to go come July 12th. So definitely looking forward to that there at the at Queens, not in Brooklyn, not in Manhattan, but Queens.
Well, at least it's not in Staten Island.
Oh yeah, definitely not. Oh my
Is it the armpit of America?
god. Well, that's a clean way to say it. Oh man. So there you go. That's what we have here, Lisa, for this session. Big thanks for everyone listening live. If you can, hit the like button, hit the share button. We're gonna have more here on the Boxing Source YouTube channel, and of course with my guy here, great co-host, of course, brother Joseph Heron of War a Week Boxing. And with that being said, man, thank everyone once again for being part of this, and have a good evening, everybody.
The Boxing Source proudly presents Real Boxing with legendary fight trainer Ronnie Shields.